Hello, and welcome back to Embodied Astrology. This is a weekly series where I share practical teachings and intuitive messages about the astrology of the week ahead so that you can work with it to embody your most authentic self and live your best life. I've never really done anything like this before, but I have to give it a shot because when I was meditating on the astrology of the week ahead, sure, I saw transits that were happening this week, but I could not help but notice these greater patterns within the astrology of the next few weeks that were really calling to my attention. And to love astrology is to love patterns. And not only are we going to zoom out and talk more about these patterns that are occurring, but I'm also going to give some predictions for particular rising signs, which I don't usually do. So I'm really excited to try out this new format, and I'm so curious to hear what you guys think. What I want to do this week is to zoom out on 3 different parts of your chart: the Gemini part of your chart, the Cancer part of your chart, and the Leo part of your chart. It's so important to know your rising sign. If you don't and you're just getting into astrology and you want to know more how you can work with it, understanding your rising sign is really the key to unlocking a better understanding of how the current energies in the skies are playing out in your real life. So if you don't know your rising sign, find your birth time, look it up. So first, let's talk about the Gemini energy that we're going to be experiencing. I predict that the mutable rising signs are going to be feeling this Gemini energy the most. So that goes for my Gemini risings, my Virgo risings, my Sagittarius risings, and my Pisces risings. The Gemini energy that we are feeling right now is really being highlighted by the planet Mars, which begins its transit through Gemini on Sunday, June 28th. Mars in Gemini feels like fast and furious. It feels really quick. It feels really curious. It kind of feels like maybe even a little bit of trickster energy. It feels like this little kid that is just approaching their desires and their drive with this energy of wonder and excitement. So wherever Gemini lands in your chart, it feels like you're getting this renewed energy of curiosity, of wanting to go after things. And because Gemini is the sign of duality, it's like you might be really tempted to spread yourself too thin and take on too many things and really divide your attention in all these different places. So definitely look out for that. But as Mars starts this journey through Gemini at the end of June and into July, it is interacting with basically all of the outer planets in a really positive way. Mars is the planet of drive and determination and energy and desires and how we go after the things that we want. And once it starts this journey in Gemini, it basically has really positive interactions with almost every outer planet. To make a long story short of all of the interactions that Mars is about to have with the outer planets as it exits Taurus and enters Gemini, the easiest way to say this is that your determination, your drive, your desires are about to pick up wisdom, knowledge, innovation, vision, and resilience along the way. I get the sense that this is about seeking truth and authenticity and being so honest about what it is that you want and going after that with a spirit of bravery, of courage, of determination, unlike you have ever done before. But because we're also experiencing this Mars transit through Gemini, there must also be this element of what would be fun and what can I learn along the way? For example, let's say that you're a Virgo rising and Gemini is in your 10th house of career and public roles and legacy. You might feel so emboldened to go all these different paths in your career or to build all these new things or to start all these new projects. And I encourage that boldness and excitement. What I do want to say is that you may want to rein that in a little bit and think about what would be the most fun, what would be the most expansive, what pursuit makes me feel like I'm inventing this new version of myself that feels really honest, feels really authentic, and actually makes me feel excited to get up in the morning and work on that thing. While you must be focused and determined in your pursuit, you must also be unserious. So it's about balancing this energy of drive and determination and motivation with curiosity and play and having fun and being in the spirit of whatever happens, I'm learning lessons along the way that are in service of my personal evolution. Now, there's a totally different energy that's also at play with a lot of activity that's happening in the sign of Cancer. I predict that most of the folks who are going to be feeling this energy are going to be all of my cardinal signs. So that's my Aries rising, Cancer rising, Libra rising, and Capricorn rising. There is this really beautiful, potent, powerful opportunity to reflect right now about the parts of our chart that contain Cancer. And this is for a few reasons. We have Jupiter, which is the planet of growth and expansion and wisdom and knowledge, wrapping up its year-long transit through Cancer. We also have the Sun, which entered Cancer for the summer solstice, which was on Sunday, June 21st. And Mercury, which is also in Cancer, is about to station retrograde on Monday, June 29th. I want you to ask yourself, what wisdom, what healing, what growth have I experienced on a whole, and or specifically in the part of my chart that contains Cancer since last summer? I also want you to think about, what are you cultivating? Because Cancer is this sign that's all about nurturing and care. What in your life have you been cultivating? What are you cultivating? And is that actually in alignment with your values? If you're a Capricorn rising, for example, and Cancer is in your 7th house of partnership, you might be noticing that you've been cultivating these relationships, whether it be friendship, romantic, business partnerships, with people that really are in alignment with your values. They're the type of people that you want to surround yourselves. You guys believe in similar things. Or you might notice that you're actually surrounding yourself with people that really don't serve you. And so this transit is asking you to be honest about where you're at and what you are cultivating. And it's giving the opportunity to think about how you might want to shift that energy. I feel that this is a really powerful time, if this energy speaks to you, to commune with your inner student and to notice some of the patterns, the behaviors, the wisdom that you've picked up, especially over the last year, and to also really listen to your inner teacher, because we all contain so much wisdom and guidance if we just give ourselves a little bit of space and time to listen. So maybe some time over the next couple of weeks, you want to go for a drive, you want to go for a hike, you want to go camping, you want to set aside some time with your journal, whatever the practice is that allows you to take some space and to be introspective and to really process what you've been going through over the last year. This feels like a really powerful time to do that if this particular energy speaks to you right now. Finally, we have to talk about the energy that's going on in the sign of Leo. And I have a feeling that all my fixed rising signs are going to be feeling this the most. This is my Taurus risings, my Leo risings, Scorpio risings, and my Aquarius risings. At the end of June, we have Jupiter entering Leo, and now it's going to be hanging out in the sign of Leo for the next year. This transit is giving sparkle, it's giving creativity, it's giving magnetism. But when I really tap into this energy, it feels like it's giving wisdom and generosity. Like, the question we should be asking ourselves when we tap into this transit is, how can I be so generous with my love and my time and my energy without sacrificing myself? And even, how can I learn to be really generous with myself? In order to attract all the wealth and abundance and love and success that we can with this transit of Jupiter through Leo, which we totally can do, we have to ask ourselves, what makes me feel the most magnetic? And it comes back to this requirement that we have to be generous with ourselves. We have to love ourselves. We have to be our own biggest cheerleaders. We have to allow ourselves to shine and to be seen and to spread our light and our love with all the people that need to see it. And by really being in that high vibration of visibility, of generosity, of sharing love, it is so much easier to attract all that it is that we desire. And so coming back to that practice of, like, how can I be generous with myself? And what are the practices that make me feel the most magnetic, the most generous, the most shiny? I think is a really helpful way to harness this energy. Now, there's a caveat, or like an added layer to this, where we are going to start having eclipses in Leo this summer. And that process is going to be carrying out for the next couple of years. With these eclipses happening in Leo, we are also receiving an invitation to shed and release and let go of some of the lower vibrational traits of Leo, namely How do we release old parts of the ego that are no longer serving us? How can we disconnect from our desire or our seeking of external validation above all else? I get the sense that these eclipses happening in Leo while we also have Jupiter here, right? So it's like this bringing in and attracting while we're releasing and letting go. It's about just getting rid of all the extra, the unnecessary, the shit that is weighing you down, that is preventing you from being your shiniest, most attractive, most wonderful self. If we can allow ourselves to do that shedding and healing work, which is not always the most pleasant process, we are making room for the stuff that really matches this higher vibration that we want to embody, that matches our authentic desires, that matches what we really want and what we deserve. For example, let's say you're a Leo rising and you have Jupiter transiting your first house of self and self-expression. If you want to attract more visibility, a bigger audience, you're ready to express yourself more authentically and more creatively, you have to go through the process of shedding the old parts of your ego, those old versions of yourself that no longer serve you, the part of you that wants to be liked by everybody, the part of you that keeps you playing small under the guise of keeping yourself safe. Once we heal and we clear all of these aspects, then we can attract the visibility, the success that we seek. Okay, so that was kind of a doozy, but I hope that zooming out and looking at some of these energies on a larger scale, thinking about where these energies are landing in your chart personally has been an interesting and helpful exercise. And I do want to say things are just ramping up. And so my practice for you this week, number one, is to absorb this information and notice where it may be showing up for you in your life. You're being pulled in so many different directions, and it's so important that we slow down and try to find our footing as much as possible. And I get the sense that you might be thinking about grounding in a very limited type of way. And grounding doesn't have to be just like meditating. You like to sweat and move your body to get rid of excess energy. You like to journal all your feelings out onto the page. You like to take a bath or a shower and let it all wash over you. You like to go out in nature. Whatever it is, make a regular practice of doing these things, especially this week, especially as we move through the summer, because again, this train is not slowing down, and that doesn't have to be scary. It gets to be fun and it gets to be exciting. And that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I am so curious how this energy is landing for you all. So please go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. And if you're curious about how all this astrology is landing for you personally and looking for ways that you can work with it, looking to understand more about how astrology can help you understand your authentic self and embrace your unique potential, then you should definitely book a True You astrology reading with me. I will go ahead and link my calendar below, and I will see you next week for the full moon in Capricorn.